Okay, Tuesday, June 9th, I think. Oh, man. The shit show continues, you know. Are enough people awakening? As we look around and see the chaos, is it bringing people down as they want? Or is it a realization that speaking the truth and planting seeds and growing the truth has never been so important? Because could you imagine, it's 2020 obviously, we all know Agenda 2030 and the plans for the next decade. Could you imagine if they have 10 years to continue implementing these new norms and fear-mongering and division and riots and implementations of privatized police with technology and corporate-run fascist governments and, centralization and owning of all products, the means of production, resources, the poisoning of the minds of the youth. Again, I'm still flabbergasted that we're seeing advertisements for protesting on mainstream media. Like, that's not a sign that this division is not only what they want, but it's being orchestrated and means to an end. Could you imagine if we have 10 years of it continuing and we do nothing? So I ask, are enough people awake? Now, obviously not in many ways, but there are so many stages of awakening that we all went through. There's the traumatic personal things, there's the spiritual awakening, there's all. But how did all that start? I mean, you didn't all of a sudden, come to realize the universe within and the vessel that houses the spirit and quantum physics and double slit and occult teachings. You know what I mean? Like, there was a progression, and that progression started for most of us with a punch in the face, punch in the face too, maybe pun intended, but a punch in the face, or a Freudian slip there, of a dose of reality, of the evil manipulation that is out there, that has been realized by the individual on their own, whatever means they came to, whatever, whether it was research, as you were coming older, back into the, older, government false flags and assassinations in the 60s and 70s and all that stuff, or whether it was back further in history, or whether it was 9/11, whether people had, certain knowledge and understanding about the past, which was then cemented by 9/11. Once that was realized, I mean, these were punches to the face. And that's what a lot of people are getting right now, is slaps and punches to the face. Not everyone's feeling it. People have their armor up, but a lot of people are. And to see, again, the target, your teenagers and 20-year-olds, as always, of course, to add 10 years to their lives and put them in the positions of adulthood and potentially parental roles, that generation that they want to raise their kids in their socially engineered way are grown to the customs that they have engineered all of us to incrementally grow used to over the years. Let's go this way. Fuck it. I'm going this way now. To over, decades of our own indoctrination. Look at what they want to do. So imagine, look what cell phones have done and the internet and all of that in the past 10 years. I understand the internet's been around since the 80s, and, in the 90s, people played with it. And, I played with it in the late 90s when it first started becoming part of society with emails and shit. But it became now a way of life where everything is done on there, to the point where censorship even occurring on there because it is so pertinent to their plans. This technological future that they want will all be connected through the internet. And it didn't take very long to get people... Am I hearing shit? It didn't take very long to get people to accept it as the norm. So look at the things they're doing. And again, this is still incremental. I know they've thrown a lot at us. But the stages are just going to get more intense, but still in incremental stages. They might get faster. The leaps might get bigger. But it's still being done in a succession, in a socially engineered way, geared towards a certain group of the population, and the rest of it, the rest of the population being used to help bring it in, rest of the population being ignored, people screaming about truth, they plan on getting rid of all of us, as other, parts of the population condemn us. I mean, they have this whole scenario in their head that they've done over and over again to keep the control that they have. Getting attacked by fucking bugs, man. And all throughout history, we've dealt with this in various ways. And now we are at this point where the surveillance, tracking, eventual even connecting of thoughts and brainwave patterns to a cloud, a central cloud, the loss of freedoms, the attack on the body that they want to force upon people with things like vaccines and testing, the intrusion on human life, the way people interact in the world and communicate and express themselves, eye contact, facial expressions, inflection in a voice, emotion in a story, all these things. You walk into anywhere now, people are just, their masks. Again, I'm not in an area of tons of masks. A lot of people do rip them off as soon as they get out. But a lot don't too. They'll have it on already in the car. They'll wear it all the way out to the car, all the way to where they get in. But, again, what is the goal of that, Is it to save people from a virus, or, to put people in this muzzle and cover their facial expressions and limit their ability to communicate, not only by the mask, but by distance, and getting a generation used to communicating that way? If that continues for 10 years, this is how social engineering works. And that's why speaking out now has never been more important. As I've said, I tried putting this channel together, playing with things. You go all the way back to from my first videos, last year. And I tried working on a show and things like that. I wanted to put it together better. I don't quite have the technological skills. But when this started, I had to do something. So I jumped back onto making videos, just on the YouTube platform instead of, posting them on Twitter through Periscope, since I've been, taken off of there, all my accounts. All the accounts gone, But it doesn't mean I don't want to continue to make things better as we go forward, because this is not going to end. There is no getting back to normal. These rules are going to stay. They're going to try to enforce them with kids in school, the stores and corporations, continuing with the social distancing. It's going to get worse and worse until, whatever the next thing they pull out of their hat, they're going to continue the protests and the manipulation of people with good hearts by, having their agent provocateurs and extreme lefties and righties out there doing things while they're pumping commercials and pumping propaganda through video games and internet memes and internet even commercials, TV commercials, radio commercials. Same way they did the virus, same fucking thing. At least that's what's going on here. You're just hearing it. It's a commercial this morning. Where do we go from here? Watch Oprah Winfrey, she's going to come out and I will tell you where we go from here. Like, these people are any fucking body in the world Bunch of fucking paid mainstream media talk show hosts being paid to brainwash. Who in the world still puts that shit on TV? That's right, brainwash people. And again, there are some people that are never going to get it. They're never going to come out of their psychological states. They have many lessons to learn, many soul lessons, I guess. I don't think anyone truly deserves it. I think most of people's ignorance comes from that lack of parenting, that lack of the building of oneself once a parent brings a child into the world. Again, you know, relationships go bad. There's a responsibility to the child. Child needs parental guidance, not parental smothering, not parental relationship problems, not, hostile environments, not being ignored. You know, the child needs guidance raising because the purpose, oh my God, there's bugs on the fucking thing, there's bugs on me. The purpose is to raise an independent, confident, principled, empathetic, moral child in the world and bring them into adulthood so that they can go out in the world with those values. And it's gotten lost, you know. Anybody that's had that is not out running around the streets breaking shit. Or I would even say falling for the psyop of being out and separating races. Like that is such an immature way of thinking. It's so decades ago. Sorry, I know the problem still exists. I can't go out and change everyone's minds and their biases based on their experiences and their, indoctrinative process. More life experience has to occur and more learning has to occur for them to pull them out of their own, muddied up way of perceiving people and differences between people. But most people, I'm sorry to say, to everybody's disappointment, they're not running around seeing people as separate anymore. The way they were. People are people. People are struggling together in this, this era of prior to the virus, inflation and unemployment and the turmoil that they've been bringing in, by staging this entire patriotic presidency from the deep state and dividing people, in this polaristic way, people playing into it, like people psychologically are spent. All fucking races, all fucking ages, all fucking religions, all fucking countries. Everybody's had it with the wars, the Project for the American Century wars, the bullshit false flags, the fake shootings, the fake gas attacks over there so they can bomb more Middle Eastern countries, the constant bombardment of Palestine by Israel that we're not allowed to talk about because, those people over there, I guess, just don't mean anything, you know what I mean? Yay, people are sick of it. People are fucking sick of it. And those are not isolated to certain races and cultures. And we can all unite around the fact that people are people. And we're sick and tired of the oppressive government trying to not only control others, but to literally rid the world of the people that they don't fucking want. The eugenics that they have been practicing. The spray in the fucking sky. The shit in the water. The GMO fucking foods. All of the shit that these people put out to make people sick and to change the way that their body, even metabolizes food so that people put on weight and people then psychologically aren't happy with themselves and they're constantly trying medicines and all these different things. And, it's insane the avenues that are taken to keep people in states of self-hatred and self-loathing, because it's really where it starts and begins. But the positive aspect of that is there's so many things they have to do. What does that tell you about the power of your mind and spirit? That the freedom that is you, that spirit of freedom that is you, needs to be suppressed by so many different angles because that spirit is so fucking powerful once it is fed with truth and love and morality and justice and righteousness, It's the best of times, the worst of times. Give it a little Charles Dickens there. But that's what it is. We're at a precipice, and this isn't over, Future's not set again. And we've come here to be that change that evolutionary spiritual change that is necessary for the species to progress. It doesn't mean sitting at home holy and, blessing everything and judging everyone and pointing fingers. And, people can do whatever the hell they fucking want to as long as they don't cause or initiate harm to other sentient life. It's not that big of a fucking rule, you know what I mean? It's not something we gotta go, oh man, you mean we can't fucking harm things? That just sucks, in order to have a good life. Like, it's not that hard, but it is hard for people who have placed their trust in these institutions that need to harm things, to rape the earth, to depopulate, to keep people in disease and ignorance in order to keep their control, So it is the belief in these institutions that hold people back. And the more bullshit that goes on, hopefully their early stages of awakening, just like ours, are slapping them and punching them upside the head awake. At least my years of awakening into coming into acceptance, which still I flirt with anger over it at times. It took a long time. But it is the beginning stages, And if enough people, which I really do believe in my heart that enough people can do this. Will they? I don't know. But I know they can. I know that, the protests that they are doing in smaller towns, I don't know, it wasn't the circuses that they wanted to, throw a joke in there, that they wanted to portray. They were pretty peaceful. However, it still does support their agenda of bringing in a new, privatized, technologically run police, quote unquote, under the guise of social workers. Because social workers are people you really want in your life coming in, determining whether or not your child can stay there. Now you're going to give them police powers because what? They're perceived the nice people. I've worked in that industry for a long time. Let me tell you something. You may have good people in there, but people will do what the fuck they're told, or when they do speak out, they're either discarded, especially in this upcoming future, or they go home with pits of stomach acid every fucking day, until they're discarded or leave themselves, based on some of the things that occur. And you think now giving them police powers is a good idea? Oh yeah, we got our heads screwed on straight. So I'm not trying to take away from any of the police brutality that goes on, which needs to be addressed and pointed out. I'm simply saying that by emphasizing that, particularly on one race, when it goes, across the board on all races and ages, and they don't give a shit if you're a man, woman, they don't give a shit, anymore with their attitudes and their enjoyment of hurting people. Again, that may have been going on as well 25 years ago when I was there, but it was an extremely isolated incidences that you would have not thought it went on if you were wearing that uniform like I was, because it never went on around me. But I'm not naive enough to think that it didn't. But it has grown now, and it was just as wrong then, by the way. But it has grown now to a point where that is the majority, and now they want to set those people at war with the population, and they want to set the population at war with them, while setting the population at war with itself in an orchestrated, multi-moved chess match that everybody's fucking upon, everybody's being used, and everybody's going to be discarded in the end, with only one fucking piece on the board standing, the king. Get over it. Your dedication to your cause or your institution is what's leading you down this path. It's the realization that the whole thing is bullshit, and the coming together of all people around what is right, human rights, freedom, what, our constitutions are based on, countries that have constitutions, whether it's a Magna Carta or, an actual constitution, the understandings of individual rights granted by a creator, not by a government, are enshrined in these things. No one has the right to usurp that. And doesn't mean you do because you're in a police uniform, or you do because you are falling for questionable propaganda that has begun this whole thing. Which I'm not going to, again, send people to the corner. Oh, he's saying, you know, but it's questionable. So I'll leave it there. Get learning, get speaking, and realize that it just takes enough people starting the process, because this may be in our face. It's going to continue. We need people to see now, and then to see more as more happens, and then to eventually their line be drawn, and for them to now step into the courage and want to know the spiritual aspects of their own selves. It's a pivotal point in the awakening process. You know, a lot of people are just starting it, just like we were. Love you guys. Get learning, get speaking.